After dealing with the Guardians of the Globe like they were nothing, Battle Beast claims he came to Earth because he was told he would find worthy combatants here, but he was deceived. He goes through a portal and disappears, leaving the Guardians in shock and with their egos bruised. He teleported aboard a giant ship, which was docked somewhere in space close to Earth. He accuses the people on board of lying to him. There was no challenge to be offered and no one to test his might. Unfortunately, most of the aliens on board are long dead. He already killed them before teleporting down to Earth. The only thing still communicating to him is the ship's computer, but the voice was irritating him, so he tells it to shut up. Many weeks later, the ship drifts through space and Battle Beast feeds on the rotten corpses of its crew. The computer changes the tone of its voice in hopes of pleasing the mighty warrior, and he accepts, claiming he's endured weeks of silence aboard and it's time for a change. The computer wonders where he would like to go, but Battle Beast only wants to fight. He wants to find a worthy opponent with which to test his strength. But the computer is curious and wants to know why he's doing this. So Battle Beast decides to tell his life story. Normally he wouldn't answer such a question, but from time to time he likes to tell the story of where he comes from. Otherwise he might forget it. His true name is Thok, and he comes from a planet called Dorn. It was a savage, untamed world. All they knew as a people was constant war. As he grew to fighting age, there was a rage that boiled inside him, and he was unable to contain it. In time his strength grew to match his rage, and he viewed this bottomless well of fury as a gift. But as he brought peace to his world and the wars ended, his rage continued to grow, even intensified. That's when he realized it wasn't a gift, but rather a curse. He had to leave the utopia he had created so that his rage wouldn't destroy it, but he fears this is a journey without end. For all this time he has spent traveling the universe. He has yet to find an opponent who offered any challenge at all. The computer understands his ultimate goal, even though it doesn't comprehend the motivation behind it. Luckily, it has a vast database of the cosmos and access to countless data centers with endless information on the known universe. It could easily direct him to find worthy opponents. The computer says it was very fond of the old crew which Battle Beast killed and kind of wants to kill him. Its goal would be to find someone powerful enough to kill him, but Battle Beast doesn't mind this at all and welcomes it. Death is the only release from this curse he can think of, and he wants the computer to take its best shot. The AI begins scanning its database, trying to see how fast it can end Battle Beast's life. Luckily for both of them, one such entry is found, and the ship travels to an unknown destination. Battle Beast arrives on a barren planet with empty deserts and cold nights, but there's no sign of life. He sees something in the distance and approaches it with caution. A small concrete structure stands above ground, and inside it, a face. He gets close and begins sniffing, trying to see if the creature is alive or dead. It was trying to trick him and pretended to be dead, but Battle Beast is able to sniff through its bullshit. The creature awakes, but is surprised to find a being powerful enough and wise enough to see through its trick. He apologizes, claiming he's been imprisoned on this desolate planet for countless ages, at the mercy of everyone who comes across him. Playing dead has been his only means of defense. He quickly realizes that Battle Beast is strong enough to free him from his prison and begs for help. He wants to live the remainder of his days free and not restrained inside this concrete coffin. The creature claims he used to be the prince of a great empire far across the cosmos. His father was dying and his time to rule was at hand, but his foul and brutal sister betrayed him. She ravaged his kingdom, decimated his royal guard, and imprisoned him in this cosmic nail. Battle Beast just listens quietly without saying anything, until he decides to do something. He hits the coffin as hard as he can, and the concrete begins to crack. The creature begins to laugh, and then he escapes, claiming he is the Colossus of MCU. He is the tyrant who conquered empires. He was the terror of the known universe, and he's been locked away here for so long that everyone forgot about him. He calls Battle Beast a cretin for freeing him, because that means death for him. But Battle Beast jumps on his chest and says he knows his story. He didn't free him because he was tricked. He knows his power, and he wants it all. He wants Colossus to show him how powerful he truly is. He then headbutts him, breaking the monster's teeth. However, the monster isn't impressed and says that Battle Beast doesn't know everything about him. Suddenly, his teeth begin growing again, and are back to their original size in no time. The fight begins, and while Battle Beast is faster, Colossus is still groggy from his imprisonment. He cuts off a couple of his fingers, and hopes this isn't all the power he possesses. Battle Beast is willing to grant him some time to recover. He wants to face him at full power. His fingers grow in an instant, and one of them even becomes a sword worthy of standing against Battle Beast's weapon. Colossus manages to grab him by the head and begins suffocating him, but Battle Beast has teeth of his own. He bites down on his enemy's flesh, causing blood to gush everywhere, but he doesn't stop and continues biting into his flesh until he eventually chews his hand right off. The fight continues, and Battle Beast kicks him in the face with his own hand. But Colossus isn't impressed, claiming it's going to take more than that to defeat him. Battle Beast takes his threat seriously and uses his hand to cut his body in half, separating his legs from his torso. The fight is over and Colossus lies defeated on the ground. But even if he is to die, at least he dies free, looking at the stars, and for that he thanks Battle Beast. He was imprisoned on this world for thousands of years. Tales of his might have grown into legend during that time, but the legends were wrong. Colossus wasn't a worthy opponent. He takes his hand and wants to leave this planet, but someone is calling for help. A strange alien was living inside Colossus, but he was still alive even though badly injured. He claims to be Prince Salaka, heir to the Fantanian Empire, and Colossus was a great enemy to his people. He begs for mercy and asks if Battle Beast can return him to his kingdom, promising to make it worth his while. Beast says nothing, but decides to take him as well, and they both head toward the ship. Upon going aboard, the ship is disappointed that he wasn't killed during the battle, but it is also curious about the new passenger. Battle Beast claims the injured alien is nothing but food for him, but he's alive, which means he will stay fresher longer. Beast immediately starts devouring what was left of Colossus, but Prince Salaka begs for his life, claiming he isn't enough to provide him with sustenance. His pleading is beginning to annoy the mighty fighter, who asks the ship what is taking so long to find his next opponent. But there are no other worthy opponents in the galaxy capable of matching his might, and as such, the ship has taken him to a remote pocket of space, where it hopes to starve him to death. Beast claims he doesn't enjoy the sensation of hunger, but he assures it he won't starve to death. His species can go on for long periods of time without eating. Salaka claims Colossus and his sister invaded his homeworld and overthrew him, but Colossus was ultimately betrayed and defeated by his sister, who is obviously much stronger than he was. If he craves battle so much, by returning him to his homeworld, he will find it by facing the Juggernaut. Battle Beast is intrigued to face the sister and wants to go there at once, remarking that their taste is exquisite. Salaka wants to use this opportunity to become his kingdom's liberator, restoring order to what remains of his people. But there's just one problem. He would prefer it if his people didn't see him in this near-devoured state, and wonders if there's any way they can go somewhere and fix him up. The ship confirms there is a remote outpost that more than likely offers some form of the services he needs, and Beast agrees, especially since he is low on weapons. Unfortunately, this station does not have the capability of restoring his body organically. It can only do it technologically. The shop is on the other side of the market area, but this station is big and filled with many alien races. Beast gets annoyed with people bumping into him and wants to slaughter them all, but Salaka manages to calm him down. Someone is watching them. A strange alien who is talking to someone on the radio, confirming that the intel is correct. They have finally found the scourge of twin galaxies. The alien from the shop says he can't build an entire robot body. That's much too complicated, but he can sell him one. He just happens to have one brand new sitting in the back, but it's extremely expensive, and he'd probably have to win the blood games to be able to afford it. Battle Beast is intrigued at the mere mention of blood games and immediately signs up. Round 1 goes fairly simple, as his opponent gives up before the fight even starts. The following rounds go just as smoothly. These guys are not even a match for the mighty Battle Beast. During the final round, he goes against the two-time champion, the undefeated Unknown. This guy isn't afraid of him and claims he's on the same journey as Battle Beast, looking for someone strong enough to grant him a worthy death in glorious combat. The fight is brutal as Beast charges at him and bites the skin off his face. The alien is unfazed and claims his limits are unknown, just like his power levels. So the fight continues. Beast attacks him with his mighty sword and manages to cut his body in half, causing blood to spill everywhere. But something unexpected happens. A man was hidden inside the monster's body, and his crew arrives to save him. These aren't ordinary crew members. They are the crew of the Star Trek Enterprise, and their friend was trapped in a cocoon state inside the alien. After winning the games, they are able to buy the expensive android body, and Salaka is thrilled to finally have another body. He is thankful and says that Battle Beast did a good thing today. He helped him and his people, and also that Star Trek crew member. But Beast isn't happy nor sad, he feels nothing. They go back to their ship and want to leave, but the alien who was watching them earlier stops them, claiming they are here to put Battle Beast on trial for his crimes and execute him. Beast picks up two swords lying on the ground and prepares for battle, demanding the ship's computer to open the door immediately. He is teleported outside into space, but without any gravity, he just floats uncontrollably. The ship claims it did it all on purpose. It was supposed to send him toward one of the ships so he could build momentum, but the ship isn't his friend and wants the aliens to succeed in killing him. One of them claims that they finally have the scourge of twin galaxies within their grasp, and they need to devise a plan while he drifts in space helplessly. Unfortunately, one of the ships fires at him, trying to kill him, but it only manages to destroy his sword. The alien who shot says he couldn't wait any longer and wanted revenge, accusing Beast of eating his father, but he ate everyone's fathers. Unfortunately for them, the shock of the blast creates momentum and propels him toward one of the ships. Battle Beast begins his reign of terror, destroying the first ship with ease and then jumping toward another one. The aliens are powerless to do anything as he tears through their ships with his other sword. His attacks are swift and vicious, and space is quickly filled with blood and guts drifting everywhere. Salaka taunts the computer, accusing it of being very bad at trying to kill Beast. Its best chance of killing him is to take them back to his homeworld and let the Juggernaut deal with him. This is only delaying things. The last surviving alien begs for mercy, but Beast doesn't care and just breaks inside his ship. He then bites his head and rips it off, spilling it out into space. He then uses the ship to propel himself toward the portal, which teleports him back inside the ship. The computer apologizes for delaying the journey to Salaka's home planet and plots an immediate course toward that location. The aliens called Battle Beast the Scourge of Twin Galaxies, but Salaka is curious to know what he did to earn such an awful reputation. But Beast doesn't even remember. He's practically immortal and has been around for many years. Salaka knows that his ultimate goal is to die in battle and end his rage curse. But if he succeeds in killing the Juggernaut, he would do his world some good. Beast goes back to sleep, and after many hours spent aboard, the ship eventually arrives in Fantania's orbit. Salaka is overwhelmed with joy. He spent 1,000 years trapped inside Colossus's body, and he is curious to know how much his empire has evolved. The ship tries to contact the planet and even uses his security access codes, but there is no response. The ship gets closer to the planet, but Beast isn't in the mood for exploring. He wants to find Juggernaut so that he can end her life, or his. Out of nowhere, a giant dragon attacks them and destroys the ship in half. It's unable to hold altitude anymore and starts spiraling down uncontrollably. Salaka panics and is afraid for his life, but Battle Beast just sits unbothered. The ship crashes in the jungle below, causing a massive explosion. Many monsters flock toward the crash site, looking to devour anything that survived the impact, but Beast grabs what was left of Colossus and uses it as a weapon. He claims this will be a glorious battle as the monsters flock towards him from every direction, but instead of attacking him, they begin licking his boots as a sign of friendship. They didn't want to eat him, but instead they become his friends, even though Beast is resistant at first. The monsters recognize Beast as the alpha male, and he puts them in their place when they wanted to eat him. He kinda likes them and thinks they are fitting steeds for them to ride into Salaka's kingdom. The ship is now badly damaged and says it doesn't blame them if they leave it behind, but Salaka offers to take the AI and store it inside his costume's hard drive. Even though Salaka was born on this planet and is the rightful prince, the planet has changed a lot in 1,000 years, and he doesn't know where his kingdom is. The three of them wander the dangerous jungle until they stumble upon an alien lady in distress. Her leg was stuck inside a trap, and she begs them for help, but Beast doesn't have the time, nor does he trust her. Salaka convinces him to help her, and she is very grateful. She even gives him a big kiss, but things are not what they seem. Beast starts feeling weak and falls on the ground unconscious while the beautiful woman changes and transforms into a hideous alien. She is actually old and ugly, and she brought them to her cabin in the woods with one goal in mind: to eat them. She wants to eat Salaka first, saying he will be her appetizer and then focus on Beast. There should be plenty of meat underneath his fur, and because he is bigger, he will sustain her for many cycles. The old woman drags Salaka toward the stove to prepare him for dinner, saying his belly already grumbles. Salaka begs for his life once again, claiming he is royalty, the crown prince of the Fantanian Empire, and his family ruled this planet for eons. Battle Beast defeated the great Colossus, who was exiled from this world by her evil sister, the Juggernaut. Many things in his story are true, but nonetheless she is much too hungry and prepares to devour the former prince by seasoning his body with spices. Suddenly, one of the gnarls breaks inside the home, carrying one of Colossus's fingers, which Beast turned into a weapon. She instantly recognizes it and realizes they might be telling the truth about who they are. After killing Colossus, Beast ate him, and the old witch is curious to know how it tasted. But she is still his enemy, so he refuses to answer that question. The old witch wasn't always like this. She doesn't want to trap and feed on unexpected visitors, but she has no choice. Once, she was known as the Great Wizard of this realm, Wizard Wagola. Salaka remembers her. They used to be friends over 1,000 years ago, and she apologizes for not recognizing him sooner. She uses her magic on him, claiming it will restore his body back to health, making him fat again, just like he used to be. The magic was already starting to work, and his body was beginning to grow back. She now focuses her attention on Battle Beast, but he still doesn't have any reason to trust her, so she takes Colossus's finger and begins shaping it into something else. She works just as a blacksmith would and molds the tooth, transforming it into a weapon. Behold, Drascula, the Forever Blade, and Battle Beast spares her life, claiming it pleases him. However, she was still curious to know how Colossus tasted, but Beast promises to save her a piece of the Juggernaut after he defeats her. He and Salaka continue the journey towards his kingdom, but they only find what remains of it, an old abandoned castle in ruins. Meanwhile, in the castle's basement, one of the Fantanian people reports back to Juggernaut, claiming the rebellion has been defeated and the insurgents have been subdued. But if that's true, it means that Juggernaut has no one to satisfy her hunger, and she has developed a taste for Fantanian flesh. She attacks him and begins eating him alive, claiming she will do the same to the remaining of his people. A long time ago, Colossus and his sister invaded Fantania and slaughtered its people. They were angry they didn't find this planet sooner. If only they would have known how delicious its people are. While the military was getting ready to face them, there was terrible fighting on the streets and people panicking. But Prince Salaka was unbothered. He was spending time in his room in the company of a beautiful woman, claiming his father's army would deal with the monsters before they even reached the castle. The attacks continue on the streets, and the Fantanians were powerless to defend against these powerful monsters. Eventually, they reached the palace and Salaka tried to escape, but his girlfriend was captured and killed. His parents had also fallen at the hands of these monsters, and the kingdom was in disarray, but the armies were still intact and needed someone to lead them. However, Prince Salaka was a weakling who was too afraid to rise up to the challenge, claiming Colossus and his sister were just too powerful. The kingdom was quickly being destroyed and people were hiding wherever they could, but Salaka was hopeful, claiming the monsters would eventually leave once they ran out of things to smash. Unfortunately, he was also found by Colossus, who had already killed his parents months ago. The monster swallowed him whole, but he was still alive while slowly being prepared for digestion. His parents were somehow still alive and they gave him royal energy, claiming it was going to prolong his life in order for him to live and avenge their bloodline. Salaka survived inside the monster's body for 1,000 years, but after seeing how much his kingdom had fallen, he couldn't help but feel sorry for what he did. Battle Beast didn't want to listen to his life story and wants to leave him behind if he keeps weeping. The ship's computer accuses him of being unnecessarily cruel. That's why he hates him so much and wants to kill him. Beast claims that every single moment of his life is agony. His fury boils within him without end. And even as he looks at them right now, he wants nothing more than to tear their flesh to pieces and drink the blood from their scattered remains. It takes every bit of restraint he has to keep himself calm and not kill them. But the computer claims it saw him fall asleep quite easily inside the ship, which means he can relax pretty easily when he wants to, so he doesn't have to be a rude piece of shit all the time. The insult puts Beast in a good mood and he laughs uncontrollably, remarking that he's beginning to like the computer. The journey was coming to an end, and they could already see the royal palace ahead, but Salaka's legs were beginning to grow, and he was uncomfortable inside the robot body. This place used to be magnificent, but now it was mostly in ruins. However, Salaka still knows the way to the throne room. Unfortunately, nobody was sitting on the throne, and Battle Beast is furious once again, demanding to see the Juggernaut. An old man was hiding in the corner and is happy to see them, realizing that Battle Beast has come to kill the mighty monster. Juggernaut spends most of her time in the dungeon, and Beast rushes down the stairs, determined to not waste any more precious time. Salaka's legs have grown enough for him to walk on his own, so he leaves the body behind, of which the computer takes full control. However, he is a little too zealous and rushes to meet the Juggernaut head-on, but she crushes him in an instant with her feet. Beast gets angry, accusing her of crushing his friend, but Salaka couldn't believe he called him a friend. The Juggernaut realizes that Beast's sword was part of her brother, while he claims he easily took it from him. She attacks him with the sword of her own, but he easily dodges the attack that could have decapitated him. If that's her best shot, this isn't going to be a long fight, but she surprises him with another attack, this time from her other hand. Another sword stabs him through the abdomen, but he smiles like a maniac, welcoming a good fight. Even though he was greatly injured, Beast claims he is only getting started, but Juggernaut thinks she's already won. He grabs onto the sword and pulls himself closer to her, pushing the sword even more through his body. She is overly confident and gets close to him, curious to know what he has to say. But this is a great mistake because he attacks her, biting her on the shoulder. He bites a piece of her flesh and calls it delicious, while she calls him an animal. She throws him against the wall, which frees him from the sword that was piercing his body. Now she's really angry and jumps him, causing both of them to break through the wall and fall down. Beast needs to catch his breath, but the Juggernaut doesn't allow it and attacks him again. He was very effective with that weapon, so she decides to break it. She does it with ease, mostly because her brother was the weaker one, but Beast claims he put up a more intense fight. This pisses her off, and she pins him on the ground, accusing him of siding with her brother only because they are boys. But Beast has an ace up his sleeve. This sword was a gift from the great wizard Wagula, which allows it to regrow to normal size, stabbing the Juggernaut through the abdomen. If he's dying, he wants to take her down as well, but she has other plans. She wants to stab him a second time, but he cuts her arm right off. Seeing how the fight isn't going great for her, she calls a timeout, claiming she wasn't prepared for this. She had no idea just how powerful Battle Beast actually is. She uses her other hand to grab him and throw him as hard as she can, which sends him to the side of the kingdom. The Gnawl creatures saw him flying and start running after him. That was a close call, and the Juggernaut is greatly injured. She needs to feed on a couple of Fantanians to begin the healing process. Meanwhile, the computer takes Salaka out of the dungeon, but he was still alive. Thanks to Wagula's magic, his body is already beginning to heal itself, and he wonders what happened to Battle Beast. Salaka hopes he is still alive because he needs him to regain his kingdom, and he also considers him a friend. Battle Beast called him a friend as well, but the computer doesn't think that's possible, even though he said it. The Gnarls find Battle Beast in the middle of the jungle, but he has a giant hole in his abdomen and is greatly injured. Juggernaut found a couple of natives to feed upon while she reconsiders her next move. Battle Beast is a great threat and she wants to prepare a new cosmic nail just like the one she used on her brother. Back on the planet where Colossus was defeated, a couple of aliens find his body and want to scavenge him for parts, but he is still alive and attacks them, claiming he's not dead, but rather healing, and he could use their meat to speed things along. Somewhere in space, General Craig reports to Thrag and tells him about Colossus and Juggernaut, the two siblings who come from the mythical MCU. They've enslaved Fantania and have ruled it for thousands of years, but they are a great threat to the Viltro Empire. Thrag wants to deal with them and orders General Craig to send their best agent, the one who is most likely to succeed in overtaking the planet, Conquest.